Spider-Man. Spider-Man.
Okay, everybody, thank you for sticking with us on the Goodell Multiverse podcast. We are in our Branchpoint breakdown. Today, we're doing something a little special. This is the first time in the Goodell Multiverse podcast history where we have been able to do our podcast and watch a brand new MCU movie and give you our first impressions of the movie.
Yeah.
Fresh from seeing it about almost 24 hours ago now. We've had a lot of time to think about it, digest what we could at this time. We definitely, just to throw it out there right now, this is going to be a spoiler-free first half or first part of the Branchpoint breakdown. We will tell you when we're getting into spoilers, so that way you're prepared and you have the chance to fast forward or come back at another time. We definitely want to give you our thoughts, and also fair warning, this we've only seen it one time, so we're going based off of our notes if we took any during the movie, and our initial impressions and the things that really stuck out to us and what we want to review and talk to you guys about today. We will eventually do a retrospective review, but that's months down the line when we've had more time to rewatch this, get through the rest of our March to Doomsday, and land on this guy before Doomsday takes place. So, with all that said and out of the way, I will touch upon my first impressions, I guess.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, spoiler free, like I said.
Yeah, forgive me, guys, too. All my notes are on my phone, so if you see me looking, messing with my phone, I'm here. I'm just reading them, making sure we're good, and going on.
Oh yeah, because there's a lot for us to remember. There's a lot for us to discuss internally and now externally with you guys. So thank you for staying with us, by the way. And I hope you're enjoying our show because we are having a fun time doing it. And we've been nervous about talking about this because we didn't know how we were going to tackle it. The good, the bad, the ugly, every bit of it. Every movie's got it. Well, sometimes they don't, but those are rare exceptions. This movie, though, I will say my first impressions is a very good movie. Like I said, spoiler free. So I'm going to refrain from saying certain characters' names that we do not know of from the trailers, just for your, so you're aware. So, the hand that is in this trailer, in the trailers, my first impressions is and we'll talk about that when we get to the spoiler talk of it. Spider-Man, fantastic. Some of the best Spider-Man I think we have ever seen, both visually and action-wise. And then Peter Parker. Oh my gosh, what they did for him in this movie was beyond what I anticipated. I was literally, every moment of his story in this movie, I was blown away. It just, the actions that he took, the way he presented himself, how he spoke, everything. And I'm not saying this like I'm fangirling on him or anything. It just really is that good, guys. Like, if you haven't seen it yet, you're one of the few people that haven't seen it, because this movie already broke records on its opening night, making $72 million opening night, beating Avengers Endgame by $12 million. So I'm pretty sure if you're listening or watching this right now, you've probably seen it. But if you haven't, if you're one of those people that just hasn't, this is well worth it just for what you know of Peter Parker thus far. And to see his story continue, they really poured that into this movie. And I'm really satisfied with that. That is immensely so good. The Hulk that we saw in one of the latest trailers. Fantastic what they did with him in this movie. Fantastic. If you've been watching or listening to the Goodell Multiverse podcast up until now, we've been a little trepidatious with the inclusion of Bruce Banner or the inclusion of the Hulk in this movie. But at least for me, and I'll let Ike speak for himself, I was very satisfied with how they did him in this movie. I was shocked. Just shocked at what they did. But anyways, Punisher. Oh my gosh, this is some of the best Punisher I have seen, personality-wise, as a a second fiddle type character. Like, wow, I'm shocked what they put him into this movie, how they did him, and how he complimented Peter in their scenes together. Fantastic. Then the last thing I'll touch upon, which is everyone's burning question, which I believe is like an open secret now, but I'm not saying it because it's still spoiler free at this moment. Sadie Sink. She's a fantastic actress. She can act the crap out of things. I knew that from Stranger Things, so I was anticipating this going into there. She is the only part of this movie that would give me pause. That's the best way I can say it that doesn't get too specific. She's the only character in this movie that just gives me pause about the MCU at large and about the Spider-Man film at large. Other than that, her acting, fantastic. I don't have anything bad to say about that. The visual effects of this movie, so good. Like, really, really good. The cinematography, the New York setting, oh my gosh. It's some of the best Spider-Man stuff in New York we have ever seen of a Spider-Man film. Like, this is a love letter to New York City in the best way possible for Spider-Man. And I will say, just to finish my part off with the spoiler-free review of this, guys, is that poster of Brand New Day that kind of mimics Spider-Man 2 from Sam Raimi's. If you like Spider-Man 2 from Sam Raimi and how personal it was for Peter Parker there and Tobey Maguire and how that story progressed, then you're expecting the same for this one, just like that. It's almost like they did that poster intentionally to say this is our version of the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 2. And I think it stuck to landing for that. I was shocked in a good way. I will tell you, I'll say it right now, and then we're going to get in after Ike gives his spoiler-free review. We'll get into why I'm saying it like this. I can't really give this a grade and a proper score because it's not a retrospective. So this score is subject to change, but this is my initial out of the theater gut reaction. If I had to quick question, what is your score 1 to 10 for this movie? My out of the theater score, and I will elaborate in the spoiler talk, is 7 out of 10. And we'll get to why it's not 10 out of 10 in the spoiler discussion. But that's just all I have to say for spoiler free of Spider-Man Brand New Day. I think you definitely should go see it and form your own opinions on it. But in case you want to know ours, after Ike gives his spoiler-free review, you're going to hear it. So, Ike, what's your spoiler-free review of this movie?
So I've been staying real quiet because I want him to get out there. I know it's hard for him without going into the spoilers because we've kind of chit-chatted a little. I'm going to be real brief because I want to touch on all the stuff you just touched on. But I think you pretty much summed it up real well. There's a couple things I might disagree with you on, but it's only after originally thinking about it. But my first knee-jerk reaction to this movie is pretty much dead on exactly what you said. So, yeah, I'm 7 out of 10 for my coming out of the movie. Now, mind you, this is what makes this movie interesting for me because now I've had several hours to think about it. And I have drastically changed in those several hours.
Okay.
And I might be bold enough to say, now, mind you guys, I just want you to know that, first of all, it's a great movie. Go see it. Go see it multiple times. This is high-end MCU. Regardless of whatever nitpicks we might have or talk about, this is a good movie, guys. Like, it's worth the time, it's worth the effort, and I'm telling you, if you like Spider-Man, you will like this movie.
Yes.
Regardless of little nitpicky things, which I think is what's neat. Some of this stuff could have really sucked, and it still was really good as a Spider-Man movie, you know? So with that said, though, not a lot of it sucked. So I will say this, though. In the 12, 15 hours of thinking about it, slept on it, woke up in the middle of the night, it was on my mind, went back to bed, thought all morning about it today. This might be a 10. And I would actually go as far as to say this might just be the smartest and possibly the best Spider-Man movie ever made. And that's including with Jean Grey. Can't believe I'm saying it. So we're just going to have to get into our spoiler talk here in a minute so I can really elaborate on that. I have one issue with the movie, and it's really small and minute, and it's a nitpick that is a preference. And I think that when we get to the spoiler talk, we'll talk about it. And I want to point it out to Sammy. It's more just something that we've been talking all along, guys, through our rumor mills and through our news stuff when we hear news about new projects and all that. It is one thing that is glaring to me, but unfortunately, I can't count it against it because I'm on the end, and so is Sam. So we wouldn't even think of this, but someone on the outside of this would think of it. So stick for the spoiler review to get the details on that, because I don't want to say with this one, if you guys are just looking to hear this, I don't want to say that, something that you don't want to know. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. You guys seen a lot of videos. I don't want to jump into anything in particular until we get into spoilers, but I will tell you right now, my walking out reaction is a 7 out of 10. My next day reaction might be a 10, but what it does mean is I need to watch it again, and definitely a third time, but definitely a second time. It has to be watched again. I need to reassure myself that I'm not overthinking it and giving it too much clout that it might not deserve. Maybe my knee-jerk reaction was good and the 7 out of 10 works, and I just am warming up to the other stuff and reacting to it. So maybe the second watch, I'll be like, oh man, that doesn't set as well as the first. Because to be honest with you, the first score of the first time you see a movie, guys, there's recency bias. And the problem is this movie is fun. Like I said, there could be things in it that's glaringly wrong and we just didn't catch on yet because we've only seen it once and it was a riot.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple. Regardless of anything we might have a problem with it, it wasn't a bad movie.
No.
It just might not be a direction we were expecting or something we liked that they did. Okay, I can't think of something in it that's actually wrong in the sense of, wow, that was a piece of crap or that was a glaring problem. I can't think of that. Only story beats is things that we're going to discuss, I think. Well, no, you agree? Acted well all the way across, regardless of, even with how Jean Grey, this situation gives us a little trepidation. If you had never heard of this character, it's awesome, right? That's kind of what
I agree with that.
So regardless, it's a great movie, and I don't want to take that away from it. But there are story things and what things mean and how it relates that I think need to be discussed, and I think we're going to help each other out with it. And then I can't wait to actually watch it again and watch it the third and the fourth time. And so when we do the retrospective, that'll be a good, true, real, scoring, because we'll have time to really sit and sink our teeth into it. But there's a few things. I'm going to get a little deep on a couple things. It's going to sound like a retrospective, guys, but it's only because, it's the kind of stuff I pay attention to. I've had a lot of thinking about this movie, so I really paid attention a lot. So,
all right. Well, with that said, you've heard our out of theater scores. You've heard Ike's evolution for the past 12 to 14 hours of it too. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty part of it. This is your spoiler warning right now. If you do not want to hear any more about Sadie Sink's character, about the story, about the things that happen in this movie, this is your time to stop stop this episode. Either fast forward if you're on the audio version, or just come back to us on the video version later. We are getting into spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Oh my gosh. The emotions that I had watching this movie were like a roller coaster for me. I will say.
Yeah, it was very much.
I was scared going into this movie of what they were going to do. They did take a big swing at introducing Jean Grey. I am having a hard time in my brain and in my heart with seeing if this was a worth it or not. I honestly can tell you, I cannot say too much on the Jean Grey part if it was good until we see more of what they're planning to do. But my initial reaction, I'm gonna put Jean Grey aside for a moment. I'm gonna talk about all these other characters first because I feel like Jean's gonna be the most I'll be talking about, and that's because it's the most blatantly obvious thing of be like, oh my gosh, you've introduced an X-Men character into this movie.
Yeah. So with that, how about we do this
Yes.
then? So
Okay.
so it's organized
Yes,
because we could.
please do.
I think we can go on a tangent easy, both of us, if we don't reel ourselves in.
'Kay.
I kind of broke my notes up into categories of like character and stuff.
Okay.
We can run down that, and if there's anything
Sure.
I miss, you know what I mean, you can bring up, right?
Let's do that.
But let's just start right off the top with Peter.
Pete.
You
Okay.
know what I'm saying?
Just Peter Parker, not
Just
Spider-Man.
Peter, his
just
story,
Peter.
and what all that means, and
Okay.
what's going on. And if you want to start there, and then I'll go after that, I think that's the best way to go. So
Okay.
let's talk about Peter first. All spoilers, guys.
All
just so you
spoilers.
know.
We're just talking. We're
We are
free
not
ranging
holding
it.
back right
Free
now.
range chickens right here.
Yeah, so last
This-
warning, spoilers.
Yes. If you didn't get it already. So, Peter, I am blown away by Tom Holland's performance
Yep.
of showing a young adult. Finally, us seeing a grown-up Peter Parker, his voice deepened, the problems of adulthood that he goes through. Oh my gosh, the emotional turmoil of not telling MJ and Ned and then seeing them either coincidentally, like it's fate, like he just so happened to be in the same coffee shop as one of them, or this, and sees him and wonders, oh, what is the life that they've built, and
Yeah.
goes to see them. Oh my gosh, Maynard, that's an awesome nickname. Good job coming up with that.
Yeah, the great off the top of your head. Crazy name for that.
And
yeah.
to see that those characters are still the same characters, they just don't know each other. Oh my gosh. Tom Holland. Wow. I'm not overstating this. This is like Oscar level performance for Peter Parker for
Yeah.
being able to do this and pull this off. The emotional weight of this movie from Peter's standpoint of being alone and feeling how he has to be alone. And I said this a long time ago, guys. We kind of like our Peter Parker by himself alone and a little depressed because we get some of the best Spider-Man. And I think this movie kind of proves it. He is like, I do want him happy, but at the same time, like, oh my, this movie was so good at Peter's emotional development. I'm blown away. I can't say enough adjectives to describe how amazing Peter Parker is in this movie. Well written, so good, so good.
Yeah.
You go and talk.
So I'm going to throw right off the bat here. I love that he has his voices deepen. The cadence of his conversations are more mature.
Mm-hmm.
I like that he sounds, in normal conversation, he even sounds more like he's from Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Before he kind of put on the extra Brooklyn sound while he was in the suit to kind of mask it. But now it's like he can't hide it when he's just in talking to regular people.
Mm-hmm.
Like he is assimilated as an adult in the place that he's growing up in. And this is probably the perfect mix of the action Spider-Man, the Spider-Man identity crisis, and Peter using his brains as one of his superpowers. Because I forgot while watching the movie, I'm like, man, you got to think about the stuff he created in this movie. Like the tech stuff that he's doing shows how smart Peter Parker is.
Mm.
And I love that he basically creates this thing that literally like puts whatever mutant power or power that you have, you know, it kind of like stops it, and it's universal. It's not just for specifically one person. So remember this, guys, there's consequences to this coming. He literally created something that's going to be used as a weapon against mutants in the future.
And it's not just mutants, because
It's any superpower.
that's one thing that we were so worried about going into this movie, is that they were going to make Peter Parker a mutant. And we heard a little rumor they were going to do that, and we're like,
Yep.
Is that actually going to happen? They do not use the word, excuse me, my voice is cracking. I need to go through puberty. They did not use the word mutant in this movie. And the comics is very specific on differentiating between a mutate and a mutant. If you don't know the difference, what Peter is going through in this movie is sort of like a mutation, but it's not a mutation like X-Men.
No.
Like a mutant that's born with the X gene.
Right.
They make it very clear. This is from the arachnid hormone from the spider that bit him.
Yep.
And when those levels of that hormone are elevated, he gets more spider-like.
Mm-hmm.
That does not mean he turns into a spider, as a lot of people thought he was going to turn into this weird spider human thing. Never did.
Thankfully.
Thankfully.
Cool in the comics, not here.
Yeah, it's cool as like, oh my gosh. But in the movie, I agree. It wouldn't translate well. But they also didn't say that this is something that he had a mutant gene that helped him with this spider thing. They make that very clear.
Yeah,
so
thank God.
If you were thinking, oh, they're going to turn him into a mutant, like what we briefly were, like, oh my God, that would have been horrible. They didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not to say this movie is without its mutants, because what my brother just said is exactly true. He created a device meant to, and it's funny, Bruce Banner says it right to him. If you do this, this is very dangerous. If you even could do this.
Some foreshadowing going on here.
And he does. And it's like my brother said, they said it's universal. So whether you're a mutate or a mutant, this is specifically designed to dampen powers.
Which brings all these powerful beings that we have in this universe, can bring them down to a level that anyone can be an enemy now.
And no one is immune, mutant or not mutant.
Yep.
Captain America would be susceptible to this. The Hulk was supposed to be susceptible to this.
Wolverine.
Yes. Everybody, which means we know what they're going to do with this, the Mutant Registration Act, and doing some crazy cool crap with the X-Men in the future. Good job, Peter.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it's funny how there's going to be consequence to it, because that seems to be Spider-Man's thing, right? And I like that they're not shying away from the identity thing in this. I think they really focus on that. It's pretty much the entire story serves Peter's story this whole time.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah, and I like that he's now this transformation at the end where he lets himself become this thing and learns to live with it. We have a formidable hero here. Like, he's not just Spider-Man. He's a tough dude, man. Like, he's a scary kind of, he could kick some butt.
Oh my.
And now it's going to make sense. So in the future now, when we do put him up against more formidable villains, we got a Spider-Man that's literally breaking swords with his skin. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, whoa, that's some wild stuff. You know what I mean? And I think that I like that they did that, because, you know, the only way to go is to escalate from here. And if you're going to escalate, it's going to be harder people to fight, right?
Yeah.
And the progression in this movie, it's like of life from a fun teen to graduation to life after school to now young adults going into their fields of practice and all that. It is 100% like this whole franchise with Tom Holland has been that. I can't state enough how the people that made Multiverse of Madness needed to know that they can put these characters in that movie and still make that movie about Doctor Strange, because you did a lot in this movie, but every single character, every single beat, every single thing that happens in this movie is essential to Peter Parker's story and who he is. That idea that you and I were worried this isn't going to feel like a Spider-Man movie because it's got a lot going on, it feels like a Spider-Man movie because it's all about him.
I was pleasantly surprised.
It's more so about him than I actually expected it to be. Like, they delivered times 2, in my opinion. And bringing the Aunt May stuff in, it was just like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. Like, it's just what we needed. It's what we needed in it. It was so emotional. Can't wait to do the retrospective of this movie. Anyway. Yeah, that's all I got specifically on Peter right now. Obviously, there's going to be some things in the future or in the rest of this that's going to relate to Peter. But those are the things that stick out the most to me. And the acting.
Oh, my.
If you ever doubted Tom Holland that, is he going to get there? He's there. He's got this.
Yeah.
He is Spider-Man. He loves doing it too. You can tell, he's playing this to a T. In fact, he takes on a role in this one that I think I couldn't picture before I saw it on screen. Which I'm going to bring that up later with the Jean Grey stuff. But he took on a role that if you were to tell me this in a pitch meeting, I said, are we going to believe this out of this actor? He's young, looks young. Is this the right time? And then when it happened in the movie, I'm like, oh my God, I am so sold on what they're doing here. It just was undeniable to me that it worked out. But it's more about the Gene stuff too. So we'll get there. If you're all set with that, we want to move on to the next one because like I said, we'll still bring stuff up about him as we go.
Yep.
But let's talk about MJ for a second.
Why?
I'm going to start with her here.
Mhm.
They finally gave Zendaya something to do. You know, no offense. In the other movies, she just played the part. It was good. You know, and she was fine. She was funny, and she wasn't a bad actress. She's fantastic. But this time, she really had to bring it. You know, and it was for the best reasons. Her chemistry with Frank Castle, for one, is fantastic.
Mhm.
The little bit of time that they have together in this, I'm like, there's a movie where the three of these people do something more together that I need to see. Because Frank and her, I like that she likes him and I like that he likes her, but it's like, there's a very toxic thing going on there. But
Yep.
I know I say like, guys, spoiler wise, if you haven't seen the movie, it's not like they get together or anything, but it's just, she gives him shit, he gives her shit, and they're both, yeah, I like her. She's cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's almost like because she won't take shit from him. And he don't take shit from nobody, and he's like, "Oh, I'm impressed." You know what I mean? And just how the cadence with them was perfect.
Yep.
The fact that once she knows the truth about Peter, she ends up telling Peter the hardest thing that most young people learn about when it comes down to love when they're growing up, and that is it's possible to be so in love with someone, but that someone has none of the same feelings for you. And that is a very hard thing for young people to deal with when you're a youngster. My daughter alone, no offense, I'm not want to call her out, but she understands. She went through her first big love and he broke her heart, you know. And it's hard to talk with your children about that or young kids because we know as we get up. Now I'm 40 now, guys. And I mean, I look back on any of my heartbreaks back then and I'm like, how silly was I acting? How goofy did I feel? You know, but then this movie also reminded me that, and I think it helped her when she watched it. And raising kids, I've realized that it's important at the time, you know, even though it's silly to us, these high school loves. But this is not only has Peter got to go through something as a hero and becoming a man and dealing with the fact that his own, you know, superpower is mutating in its own. He's also dealing with this is what it's like to really have your heart broken. Like the first hardcore heartbreak. For her to turn to him and say that to him, I just don't feel the same. Wow, what a heartbreaking thing. You see it in his face of just, whoa. That's a part of this whole structure of this, everybody forgetting who he is, that he didn't take into account until it happened. Because I think part of him thought, I'm going to tell her. Or she actually finds out because she finds the note. But I think a part of him thought that once she hears it, she's just going to remember.
Yeah.
But that's not the case.
No.
And it's like, oh, that is heartbreaking. That is heartbreaking. And it's part of him growing up. It's part of him figuring this out. And it's just very meta and very good on how they did that. And very mature in the way of thinking of how they do this.
I'm impressed on that note. I'm impressed that they chose her reaction how it was. Because any sane person could have read a note like this and thought, this guy's weirdly obsessed with me and has all these weird, but she understands that this actually did happen. And she believes it.
Well, it's because they remember being saved by him all the time.
Yep, and she believes that this actually happened, but those feelings are wiped away with the memories.
And that's wild. And if I was someone, if they told me, what should we do with Mary Jane is, I would have kept it where she never finds out. This is better. This is better. So she finds out. And then part of me was like, oh no, this is going to be this. She's going to know. Oh, okay, we're right back to where we kind of started. But then she's the one that tells him, sorry, dude. I don't know what to tell you. That is freaking brilliant. That's brilliant. It's so brilliant. But what's really neat though is they still maintain this like thing where there's a friendship there.
Well, she's
'cause
still
she gets it. Like, she's just like
she's still open to allowing him to be friends with
she's
her.
empathetic to what the truth is, and she
Mhm.
sees that in his position, this has gotta be awful,
Mhm.
but at the same time, it's like he can't they can't be together, you know what I mean, if she don't love him. But that's
Yeah.
saying this won't get fixed, guys. I mean, it'd be I'm actually okay if they go into the future and she actually does fall for him and all does come full circle again, but I like that they're going this way now.
I like that they're doing it as a story
Yeah, because
progression. Yep.
it's gotta make I don't think so. I think we're gonna see Peter have a whole new love interest.
Yep.
I think this is the end of MJ. I think we'll see her again, but I think MJ's out of this. I think he's gonna have a new love interest.
Mhm.
I think that's how it's gonna go, truthfully, in my opinion, but
Yeah, well, I can foresee them at the end of his arc as Spider-Man getting back together with her and that being the happily
the
ever
end of
after.
him. Yeah, I agree.
But
I agree.
I do agree with your sentiment there that I think that at this point, he now is able to start rebuilding that relationship with her and Ned. And as a friendship, though, and reconnecting some of those dots that have been lost now. And in doing that, he needs to start having his own life. And he now, at the end of this movie, can feel like he can do that, which means we are eventually going to get the Gwen Stacy. We're eventually going to
Gotcha.
get the Felicia Hardy that's going to become Black Cat that breaks his heart type thing. We're going to get some of that stuff now, which is great because that's one of my worries about going into this movie is that she's going to remember everything. Something's going to happen. They're going to get back together. And no offense to them together, but we've seen movie after movie of them together.
Yeah.
We need a fresher take. There's more to this character than just MJ. And now I feel like we actually have a chance to get there. That's going to be really cool. And I agree with you wholeheartedly on the acting part. No offense to Zendaya, because you are a fantastic actress. You are a fantastic actress. But your role of how you've been pigeonholed into Mary Jane is just this dopey, dark, sarcastic girl this whole time. But you're now in story-wise, you're this young woman graduating from college that has no idea who Peter Parker Spider-Man is. And how she was able, when it was Sadie Sink's character, Jean Grey, in her mind act and being able to pull off what looked like a dual personality in doing so. Oh my gosh, that is some of the best acting because it was so blindsided for me. And that part of me is like, oh, wait a minute. I think there's something off here. Then once it finally clicks, you're like, wow. And then you see her reaction to Peter after the kiss, and you're like, oh my gosh. It's such that is probably one of the best scenes of the entire movie. That revelation of her being able to play like a dual part and doing it so well and pulling at Peter's heartstrings like that.
Oh man, yeah, I was impressed.
My
very
gosh.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And that helps that they are married because
Yeah,
the
right.
chemistry's there, and
Yep.
it almost makes it more heartbreaking.
Right.
Like, let's just hope that the art doesn't imitate life, right?
Oh my
or
God.
our life
Yeah.
imitate art, I should say.
Oh.
Yeah, let's keep that in the movie. We want them two to stay together. They look happy.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. All right.
So let's move on to Frank.
Okay, Frank.
So, you hit on a lot of stuff already, but you know what? What this movie shows that you can take rated R Frank and put him in the PG-13 Frank, and it's fine.
He is awesome in
He's
this movie.
great. He gets all the edgy stuff, which you would do with a rated R.
And he's not mopey dopey Frank.
Thank freaking
He
goodness.
wasn't, because that's been Ike's biggest complaint
I
about
even
this
laughed
Punisher.
at the end when he says crying. I'm like, that's all you do is cry. But now I'm like, I love that he's not in this.
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
This is the Punisher I remember from the first Daredevil show that I fell in love with, of a character that I never thought I'd like him. And this is, oh my gosh, John Bernthal and Peter Parker's.
What a buddy cop movie I want so freaking bad. They're so good. I just hope they do a project together outside of this that is more like that, because even as these characters too, but even in separately, there's a real life friendship there.
There is.
He was in a movie with Tom when Tom was like 14 years old. So he's watched Tom become a man. And then he was in The Odyssey with him, and then in this again.
Yep.
And so they have quite a relationship, and
they're
awesome. Fun to see, do interviews together. You can see it on screen. It just seeps over. It's so just like, it's perfect for them too.
Yep.
I like that, man, when he's shooting at the Hulk in the Hulk scene, he's going right for the face. Like they let him be the Punisher the way the Punisher would be in a rated R movie. They just say, don't swear that much. But he does get all the harsher words.
Yeah,
And
'cause
you
he's
keep the
Punisher.
same kind of attitude and you're fine. And
Mhm.
John's a great actor that knows how to balance that. He knows what we're talking about. And he just brought it to the plate, man. And
Oh
he's
my
so good in it.
gosh.
I will tell you this, there is better character development in his 10 minutes and 15 minutes. Let's say, what do you think his time in this movie is probably? I think he's probably in it for a good
I would say 20, 25 minutes. The
25 to
most.
most, right?
Yeah.
Is better than most of his character arcs and all his other stuff.
Mhm. It's so
This
good.
whole him shooting to kill Jean to
I'm gonna
stop
do it
what
my
she's
way.
doing, do it my
Yes.
way, and not
The
accidentally
arrogance
killing.
of it.
Yeah, not accidentally shooting Peter, but Peter stepping in the way.
Mm.
It's like he had like a epiphany of shit. My way can do some wrong.
Mhm.
Like even Daredevil can't get that shit through to him the way Peter just did by making
Yep.
one move.
They kept true to
Amazing.
Punisher's character in doing it.
Amazing. 100%. They did. This is my one problem with the movie that I want to point out right away.
Okay.
I want you to pretend that you've never seen anything of John Bernthal's Punisher until this movie. Do you know who he is?
No.
That's a problem. I'm fine with it because we've seen a lot of the Punisher stuff, almost all of it at this point, and it's pretty self-explanatory. But if you haven't seen the stuff outside of the films, he's just there and you're just supposed to know who he is. This is my issue with, this is what makes this complicated about the whole taking things from the TV shows and putting them in the movies. I know I beat on this drum all the time, guys, but here it works for me because I already know who he is. And I can't say it's bad. It's not bad at all. It's actually fantastic. Although, if I didn't know who the Punisher was, I didn't know who this character is. You know, and when she looks at who all these people and all that reference, I would have not understood. You know, we wouldn't have gotten the joke about him talking about the crying thing because they know it. That's why they did it. Yeah, that's like a oof. It is jarring. Not so much for us because we're on the in, right? But if you're not on the in, and here's the thing, you know who's not on the in on that? Probably a lot of the young kids. Probably. Because I think Daredevil and the Punisher's standalone stuff, and even the Daredevil from the Netflix one, I don't know. I wouldn't let my 5-year-old watch Punisher One Last Kill or whatever the hell we watched.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Mhm.
That's gory. You know, I would be very careful about the Daredevil show with my young kid. This movie, though, the kid can handle that.
Yes.
But who is that guy?
Mhm.
I don't know. If y'all was an adult that was a casual movie watcher that doesn't really, I don't even have Disney Plus. I don't watch cartoons. I don't watch the shows. I'm not a nerd, but I like the Marvel Universe. They don't know who this guy is.
Mhm.
So it's up and down with that. I don't think it hurts the movie because it doesn't hurt the movie that he's in it. But it's just, I just realized that there is no moment in it where they don't even say Punisher. He's just Frank the whole time.
Yep.
And it's almost like, oof, we're just supposed to know. But maybe I'm being proven wrong. I could look at this two different ways. Am I right to think that we really need to get away from that because one day it's not going to work and that's going to be a glaring problem? It works this time, but will it next time you do this? You know, with a different character that's not a big deal, right? That maybe people haven't seen. Is it going to work when they do this with Wonder Man? Because that's what's going to happen. He's just going to be there. And we're going to be like, wait a minute, what's this mean for him? Because that's kind of what's going to happen. Because Wonder Man's definitely lesser known than Punisher, that's for sure.
Mhm. Yeah.
The fact that what they got going good for them is that he's a big name character. He has been in a lot of stuff. It's
Mhm.
hard not to know who the Punisher is. But if you by chance don't, you're not getting the references they had. It doesn't hurt the story of this movie, but how different of a character would you look at it when you don't see that nuance of he's going to do it his way, staying true to the character? He could come off easily as just someone that's really annoying that should just listen and do what he's told because Peter's right. And every time every time Peter says, do this, do that, he goes and does the opposite. And it turns out exactly, it's like, don't get within 30 feet of her. He's like, yeah, whatever. And what's he do? I mean, he doesn't do it on purpose, but she comes around the corner and takes control of him. Right. And it's like, you and I get it because he's going to be a butthead like that and go do that. People that don't know the character are going to be like, what a dumb character in this. So that's my only nitpick there. I don't know if you feel the same about that. I don't know if you see where I'm coming from. It's hard to feel that way about it because of how good it is in the movie. But is it only good in the movie because we've been watching the shows? I think that's more true than the other. If you really thought hard and pretended you didn't know him, that would be a character that we'd kind of be like, man, I like that Frank guy. Who is he again? That's how we'd feel about it. Instead, you and I feel better about it because we already know him. But anyway, I digress. That's my one problem with this.
Okay. All right.
Maybe we'll feel differently now when we watch the second time, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Ned for a minute.
Okay.
This is definitely a more mature look at Ned. I love it. I like that he's got like this obsession fueled by this like empty thoughts of something that he doesn't remember. Like he knows there's something, and that's why he's like hardcore about Spider-Man, and they've been saved by him so much, but he doesn't know, but he knows enough to be like, I need to be into this, right? And so he digs right down deep into it. I think this is him and Tom Holland's chemistry in this is at its peak. Like the few scenes they had together, I think are fantastic. I think the end with Ned, I'm going to talk about that real quick, then I'll let you go off on Ned for a second. I think there's two ways to take this ending with Ned, because basically at the ending, what happens is Peter walks in, he buys flowers, which we're assuming he's going to do what with, probably take to Aunt May, right? And he looks over, sees Ned sitting there having coffee or doing his thing. He walks up, he doesn't really say much. He says hi, and then he goes to do the handshake. And Ned just kind of instinctively goes along with the handshake. Because it makes sense. He'd remember a handshake like that. He just doesn't remember who it's with, right? And I think this could be taken two ways at the end of this. Like you can either see it as he starts to remember Peter, or he has like a, like basically it starts to happen, and then the movie goes to the end, which makes us all kind of go like, oh my God, is he going to start remembering? Like, is there a thing that's happening here? I don't think that's what they meant with this. I think what they mean is like, I think there's a revelation that answers his own obsession with Spider-Man here, that he doesn't understand, and how they've been saved so many times by him. And when they do the handshake, he puts it together that MJ let out the fact that Spider-Man's name is Peter, and Ned is just that smart to realize he's been friends with Spider-Man before, and now he knows his name is Peter. So then when Peter does the handshake with him at the end, he kind of goes, wait a minute, are you this thing that's missing in my life? And I think Ned just guesses his name is Peter, and he smiles, and Ned's just like, holy shit, I was friends with Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Like, I think Ned is just like, I was friends with Spider-Man, and that's what I'm forgetting, or that's what I'm missing. That's why I feel this way. I think it's just a revelation. I don't think it's him remembering it. But with that said, though, guys, I do think that the memories are still repressed, and it started a chain of events by making Ned know at the end, as he slowly remember. Like, I think he's going to slowly start to remember. I think that is something that is going to happen. Because I think what happens next is going to spur, like, it's going to like spur into this whole changing his opinion of Peter with whatever events that happen next. And I feel like they did like a reverse to us. I think they ended this whole thing with Ned as he calls it out that he's Peter. He knows Spider-Man's Peter. Now he's figured out this guy's Peter. We had a secret handshake. You're the thing that's missing. We used to be friends. Now I'm happy. And we're like, cool, the friends are back. But I think it's a misdirect by Marvel. I think they want us to feel that way because I think their plan going forward is, as he gets his memories back, they're either convoluted or it's changing him and makes him feel a different way. And I think we are going to get a heel turn with Ned. I think it is going to be something that eventually comes. And I think it's actually going to go real sour. I actually think he's going to do something real bad. I think Ned's going to go the distance. I think MJ is going to be out of the MCU because of Ned. Like, I think it's going to become a thing. You know what I mean? But I think they want us to feel all good and happy and giddy and warm about it right now. Because why do it other than just to bring him back? Like, why go full circle? Keep this idea that he's got to be his own. I think they're only doing this because they know this could be a good villain later. And Ned's super smart. Like, he's not just mature now, and he's more tolerable and not as silly. You heard all the science stuff he was doing. This kid knows his thing, man.
He knows how the webs were made and everything. Like, that's
already know that he
impressive.
knows how to use a sling ring, so he's got a sense with the magic. Like, you telling me you're not setting up for a sweet hobgoblin thing?
Right?
And it's like, this is great. It'd be even more heartbreaking seeing that they become friends again, but only for Ned to maybe he just remembers something differently, or maybe he realizes, wait a minute, you know what I mean? And it's not the same, and it's just a delusion, which is what was so unique about the Green Goblins. It was always about some sort of thing that was going on like that.
Yep.
So I think I think they're going to stay true to the character and do it like that. But that's how do you feel about that? Do you feel like you got any of that glimpse? Did you get any of that kind of feel from it? Am I overthinking that, you think? But I really think that was like, oh, you guys did this on purpose, because that would just be replaying things.
See, this is how my brain worked when I saw that. I kept thinking, all right, what are the logical pieces of this?
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't remember Peter Parker and Spider-Man, but they make that clear in this movie that they remember events where Spider-Man was a part of their life. They just don't realize Peter is Spider-Man. That's the whole thing about this. They don't forget about Spider-Man. They forget Peter Parker is Spider-Man. I don't know how far, like in No Way Home, when he finds out he does have those powers of the ring, sling and all that stuff, the sling ring. If he remembers doing that, and it's just either a blurred face when you see Tom Holland's face, or if it's just he only remembers him in the mask. Because this is the thing, too. It's not only... It's hard to figure this out because they remember they had stuff with Spider-Man, but they don't remember details. Details in the sense that they don't remember... They don't say that they know of where he grew up, which obviously they don't know because Peter Parker and Spider-Man, they don't know they're the same people anymore. Like, he doesn't know a way of getting a hold of him. It's interesting how they've put these pieces together to be like, this is how we're going to tell the story of how they don't remember who Peter is, but they remember who Spider-Man is, but they don't remember Spider-Man is Peter. So it's very hard to figure out what they were meaning by this, and I think they did that intentionally because it's so open-ended that whether Destin Daniel Cretton picks up the sequel to this or someone else does, they can have a different interpretation on it. My interpretation of this is, I think... See, in this movie, he doesn't mention that he knows how to use magic. He never does. It wasn't actually until No Way Home where we find out that his ancestors had abilities that they think that they were able to use magic, and then he actually proved he could do that in No Way Home. All of that happened in one movie. This movie, he doesn't boast about the sling ring thing, so I don't know if he remembers he can do it. And I think that when Doctor Strange did that reverse of the spell, even Stephen Strange didn't remember it. So I don't think a magic user would automatically remember Peter Parker as Spider-Man. But I do think dots were connected, because if it's one thing if he's like, oh, I recognize his handshake, but I don't know what vision of Peter he actually has of him. When they do that, it's slow motion. It's so cool, and it's like muscle memory. Because for Ned and Peter, it was like we saw glimpses of them in all the other movies of them doing it, and they're not even looking at each other. That's how much they just are in sync of those hand motions.
Yeah.
So it made sense that he had just had a muscle memory of that, and at this point, he knew that, hi, I'm Peter Parker. I think he remembers now Peter. He still doesn't know Peter is Spider-Man. I think that part of the spell is still intact. He doesn't know Peter is Spider-Man. But I think he's now remembering, I had a friend named Peter because of that. When to me, it looked like a light bulb went off in his head of, oh, Peter, kind of like how, you grew up, you have a friend that's like in second grade, and then you're adults, and you really don't remember who this person is, and then you see something or they do something, and you're like, oh, yeah, Lily from second grade. Oh, my gosh, I remember you now. I think it's that. I think it's more akin to that. He now remembers that he had a friend named Peter Parker, but it still is not he's Spider-Man. So I don't think
we
they
and
went
I see that
route.
opposite for sure. I don't think that Doctor Strange's thing is reversed. I don't think it can be.
I don't think it's reversed either.
But that there would make it think that there's a crack there that can be then that he's remembering Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole thing is he can't remember Peter, because remember, it's not just the fact that he's Spider-Man, but he's forgetting Peter Parker. And I think that is something that's true. I think he heard. I think there's no coincidence that she said Peter to him when he was going out the window, and Ed turned, and we all took it as a joke of him going, Spider's name is Peter. We all laughed, but I think later that's him showing you how smart this kid is, going, he did the handshake.
Okay.
He's like, Spider-Man's been in my life all the time.
Yep.
And Spider-Man saved us so many times. Why am I obsessed with Spider-Man? And this kid, we can do this handshake? Wait a minute. Peter? And Peter's just like, and he's just like, oh, and it's boom. I'm like, he's putting it together, but the actual memories aren't there.
Okay, I see your point, and I did forget that she let it slip. I did, because we only watched it
At
one
least
time.
that's how I feel. I mean, you might be right too, though.
I see that point too, because he is, as we see in this movie, he made an app to track Spider-Man's movements.
He's
like this,
completely obsessed.
Ned is, he is obsessed with him. Even when he says, "I'm not obsessed. I just want to find him."
There's a fine line with obsession, right?
Exactly. Which is why the Hobgoblin thing would be so freaking cool. Anyways, but yeah.
You see where I'm coming from?
I see exactly where you're coming from.
I think the memories of the best friend stuff isn't there still.
You just think he's finally able to connect that Peter is Spider-Man, just as natural. And
that they happen to have known each other. I think he realizes there's a connection there. He's like, there's something. Because that handshake, I think, shows that, wait a minute, there's something here, and your name's, are you Peter? And he smiles, and
it's that part
tells
there.
him he's Spider-Man.
It's that part there that he feels like he knows him.
That's what I mean. That's why it's hard to say.
It's a fine line, because if you go that route, it's breaking the spell. But it's not. You can easily say he's just connecting the dots and figuring out, oh, yeah, Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
But did it even help your side, knowing that he's a kid that can be susceptible to using magic? Maybe he can break the spell, and he doesn't even know he can, and it's starting to happen. So look, there's a lot of reasons this could be that. Either way, it could be correct. He could be guessing it because he is getting the memory back, because maybe the spell won't affect someone that's into the arts, that he doesn't realize which he's going to remember that he used a sling ring. I mean, the only thing they all forgot is Peter Parker.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like I said before, they
wondered what they were doing at the Statue of Liberty in the first place.
Yes,
if you think about it,
that's the thing.
Yeah,
because they do remember Peter saving him multiple times. That's right. Why he's looking for him to say thank you. Supposedly,
they mentioned it in this movie all the times.
Yes, so. But one thing I will say to close on the Ned thing while we're debating it.
Yeah, because we can go on for a while.
This has made me interested in Ned for a change, because up until, no offense to him, he's a great character and everything, but there's always this one character in some movies that you're like, do we need him? Do we not? I don't know. Peter needs a best friend. Okay, you got him. This one makes me interested in learning more.
Well, that's why I feel like no matter which direction you go at the end with those two options, works either way.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, I think they're setting up for the heel turn later.
I hope they do.
I think they're just repeating. Because Peter's got a friend now. Who's his friend now? It's Frank.
Mm-hmm.
If we.
But now he's trying he's trying to build that friendship again with Ned. And so now we get to see a whole different
Ned, though, right?
Yes, it is a different Ned, because he doesn't remember the growing up years. This is the adult years.
That's right. Oh,
it's right there. And Peter is going to be remembering all of this. I did predict some of this if they did this. If they are smart and they do that right, Peter's remembering everything. Ned's only remembering from that moment onward, Peter Parker is here.
Mm-hmm. His opinion of Spider-Man is going to change somehow.
Yes.
And the friendship thing's not going to factor in because he doesn't remember it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's going to make him bad.
Exactly.
And that's what's going to be heartbreaking.
Yep, because he doesn't have that emotional connection.
And MJ's going to fall
has.
in love with Peter again, and Ned's going to take her from him.
Yep.
That's what's going to happen.
Because in every universe, there is a green goblin or some sort of goblin.
He's going to be,
and it's always the friend of Peter.
Yep.
It just always is, in some way, shape, or form, you know?
Who do they go after every time?
They go after MJ.
Yep, his love interest, whether it's MJ or Gwen or whoever.
Yep, yes, yep. Okay,
it's whatever's going to hurt him the most, because that's what he does.
Yep.
Oh, how awesome. Like, I think if they're not doing it, it's a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
But clearly, that's why that's why they ended the movie on that. They want us to walk away going, oh, the friends are back, because when we start getting further on, it's not going to be the same. So anyway.
All right, who's next on your list?
So let's go ahead and talk about the Hulk real quick.
Okay.
So I love that he's in this as minimal as possible, because I thought he was going to be saturated in this thing, and he really isn't. It's just a great epic scene.
And are you differentiating Bruce Banner from the Hulk, or just like when you're talking about the Hulk? We're talking about
all of it. The Hulk and Bruce Banner, talk about both of them.
And while we say that, I am so satisfied with how they did the Hulk in this movie, differentiating him from Bruce Banner.
Yep.
They're not one and the same, and that's always been a big thing. They're not one and the same. We haven't seen this type of Hulk at action and this Hulk itself since Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And we get the best of both versions of the Hulk in this one. We get Smart Hulk and Rage Hulk.
I would even argue that he's like closest to the Hulk in the first Hulk movie.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes down to the rage part of it.
Oh my gosh.
Right. Ragnarok was back in base Hulk.
Yes. Yeah. But this is perfect. It's something. And it showed proof that he remembers that Peter is Spider-Man. Yeah. Hulk does.
I love how he looks in this, by the way. The CGI of Hulk is so freaking good.
Yes.
I like the subtle changes they've made. I like these taller and bigger. Like, this is a new, like, I'm back, mofo. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's like, oh, boy.
I love when Peter's like, I didn't know you could get this big.
Yeah, and that is a big thing.
Yes.
That is a big thing when he holds Peter down. It's like, everyone would be all kind of like, why does he get all sentimental with Peter? It's like, because Hulk remembers Peter.
Yep.
Because Hulk wasn't there. Hulk wasn't in charge when the spell went. And that's a whole different person inside
of him. It's a whole different person.
How freaking personality. Brilliant is that?
I love it. And it's so comic accurate, which is even better.
So he says, because he specifically says, it's me, Peter, I'm your friend.
Yep.
Hulk's like, and he looks in the mirror like, I'm about to hurt my friend.
Yep. And then he just decides, I'm just going to fall. Yep. There you go.
That's what makes him go ahead and change back.
Oh, my God.
Brilliant.
Yes. Good job. That was one of our worries going into this movie. Is this just a Hulk versus Peter movie type thing? Like, no, it's not.
And I do like that we start out with Smart Hulk.
Yes.
And then, so when it's Rage Hulk, he's not controlled by Jean. And he's just Rage Hulk. And I'm like, yes. And when he's Smart Hulk, he is controlled, which is great. So it shows the break of that. It's just not all of a sudden gone. And there's a breaking of the mind that happens here.
That's the thing.
Because of Jean going into his head.
It also shows that the Hulk is not only physically powerful, but mentally powerful as well.
That's right.
That Jean can't control a raging Hulk.
That's right.
That's how indestructible this guy really is.
Yep.
I love that.
Yep. And I think it leaves Bruce in a great spot for better stories coming.
Yep.
Because he's exactly what I told you when we first went into this. I'm worried of like what Hulk's going to do a bunch of stuff in this. Bruce is going to be devastated, and he is. You know? And like, it's all over the news. Everyone's all, now we have to wonder, why did he lose his mind? And it's like, here we go. We're starting this whole, someone's going to say maybe he shouldn't live here anymore. We're going to turn in, he's going to go back to Sakaar, and we're going to have this awesome Hulk movie. I think it's going to have, Universal's going to have to deal with the fact that you just can't do it, and they're going to have to fork it over. And I think we're going to be able to see this movie go down. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But that's all I got for Hulk, and I kind of want to go on to like the mix of the villains. I don't want to talk about each one because we'll save that for our retro. But I do like that it's awesome seeing them placed in this world. And to be honest with you, these moments make the movie feel like the best blend of the old cartoon, the Tobey Maguire and Andrews versions, and all of like the storytelling and cinematography and action from the video games. Like, it all feels like it's encompassed this story by having them there. I disagree with you about the hand. I think that's brilliant how they did them.
Okay.
Why I say that is because I think if you made too much of them being independent, that would have been too much in this movie. The fact that they utilize the hand after they've already been known as villains as like the force that they had them as makes more sense because it just kind of works that way, I think, in this. I just think it makes more sense. That and that fight scene between the hand and him when she's controlling all of them is freaking awesome.
That's a great fight scene. I'll give you
and
that.
I don't
yes.
think it would be that if there was a different plot line with them.
I feel the hand is unnecessary in this movie, and I feel that they actually, because they haven't given context to what is going on with the hand is a huge organization. It's not just a group of ninjas. So they treat the hand in this movie like they're just some lost, wayward hand agents that are now working for them. Why are they working for them? They don't see, when you think of the hand for any comic book person, forget about the Netflix Daredevil show and all that where they were introduced, which really sets them up as this huge organization. We haven't been introduced to that part into the MCU yet. That's why they're doing Daredevil Born Again. They're bringing them all in to this universe. These guys just starting right out right there, it feels very misplaced.
Do you think it's possible though that there's no confirmation about certain things? So like what I mean is like, can it? I almost, I don't know. I kind of feel like it's possible. Maybe you're kind of like understating them, because I see I know exactly where you're coming from. And I think the hand has a bigger role in comics and stuff that makes this one feel a little simpler. But maybe it's not that simple. Like, what if now that because you gotta remember, damage control is gone now. So these guys are just out there. So now now this is the opportunity to get that version of the hand because they're out there doing what they're gonna do.
But that even makes it
Worse,
more
right?
confusing, in my opinion, because it probably goes back to something you referenced when it came to knowing the Punisher from the shows to the movies.
I know. That's what.
So the hand is exactly like this. If this is the hand from the Netflix show that we last see of them, where in the Netflix shows they are dismantled from the top down with Sigourney Weaver, who is playing the main villain of the hand and helped bring Elektra back, and then she's gone and all that stuff. If you include that stuff in, then I have no problem with this part of the hand in Brand New Day. But the problem is, if you're brand new, you're walking into this movie, all you're introduced to are like 4 red ninjas, and he says, "Oh, these are members of the hand." But because their leader is gone, we've become their new leader. I'm like, there's something really weird with that there.
I don't think they're the ones from the show. And that's my complaint with these
guys. And if that's true, that's even worse, in my opinion.
What works and what doesn't.
Yep.
But if I were to just take the shows out of it, like I'm pretending they don't exist, what they're doing is these are the hand, their leader's gone. Now that they're free of this organization,
they're going for another organization?
Well, the storyline is going to be them looking for their new leader, because that's kind of a storyline in the Spider-Man comics. And it's going to be coming back with Spider-Man. I think the symbiote's going to have a lot to do with that when we get there. I don't think this is the last time you see the hand.
I don't think so either. But this is because the hand are too big for this to be the last time you see them.
I think this is the beginning of the hand in the MCU movies, not in the shows. That's the problem with the darn TV shows, is they're nitpicking what works and what doesn't work.
But yeah, that's the thing about this. Whether if you make what the TV shows did canon for this, parts of it does work, but to your average audience, they wouldn't realize that. If you make it where they're not canon, I think you do a very big disservice to the hand itself.
I think we're going to get them the way you want them later.
Because
they are just members. They're going to go for a new leader, and they're going to want Spider-Man, but they're going to want Spider-Man when he's in the black suit. And it's going to turn into a whole thing. Don't forget.
What's weird is that these characters, they're
just a portion of the hand, and they kicked his ass. They're the villain in it that pushed him to the limit of having to become. I mean, yeah, it was through Jean Grey, but it's only because she's amplifying who they are. She's not a martial artist. They are. She's using their brain to do what they can do. And they killed him almost.
I get when you put them into the movie, all the parts that they do, their action, I can't even say their purpose, but I get the purpose they made them for the movie. Is they're kind of like the martial law officers of this guy, because he has police officers in damage control, but
and
he
they're
also
leaderless
has
right now.
Yeah, but that's the part that's really weird.
I
It's
get
just
it. I think this is one of those things that's going to fall into the thing you said earlier in your non-spoiler review. Is later you're going to appreciate it more because you're going to get the hand that you want.
I hope so.
You see what I'm trying to say?
This is one
I
of those things.
predict that they didn't shorthand these guys. I just think you saw a portion of this group, and this showed how powerful they are. Now, can you imagine the full group when they're trying to get the leader?
And I'm gonna give the writers of this movie some credit here, because they could have just put the hand in there and not give any explanation.
Right.
They did. They gave 2 sentences that I always usually just say to all the writers and directors, say something to acknowledge why they're there, and that's it. So I'm giving you your credit and your flowers right now. You did that. The problem is, the hand is not like your average people. It's weird that they would go from this supernatural part of what they are now to a government agency. There's such a, to me, it's more of a disconnect of someone's like, we want the hand to be in this movie, but we want them to make sense. Oh, let's just have their new leader be the government. Be like, that's the exact opposite of what the hand is. They've toppled governments. They've not joined the government. It's, even if that's one thing they always say about the hand, is even though one person falls, like the Sigourney Weaver character in Defenders, even though she was the top of them, even if she falls, the actress that just passed away that played Madame Gao, she was a member of the hand. Even if one falls, you still have other people that are part of the hand. Like, that's the whole shtick about these characters. And they didn't even come from America. They came from, like, Tibet. They came from Asia, somewhere in Asia, where they have their temples and all this different stuff, where Iron Fist learns about them and all this. There's like a whole school dedicated to them. So it's just, well, that's my only pet peeve. I don't want to get on too much of a ramble on this, but it's
in
like,
some defense of that, though, you got to also understand that the person running this department for the government is also running it in a bad way. We don't know his connections to why he's who he is and where it is. I don't think that the Department of Damage Control has been dirty this entire time.
But we do know
at some point it changed hands.
He's not powerful.
That's right. At some point, that's right. You're right. There might be a bigger thing at play here. I think there's no mistake that fight happened and they're still alive and they're still prevalent, and now that agency's gone and they're the ones that made him accept this spider thing in order to win. I think that's going to come back. I really do. I mean, I might eat my words, and they never do it, and they just threw these guys in there hoping that nobody would care. I think they care, though. I think they understand that the hand is a big deal, but I think this was just their way of, see, the hand's coming. We're going to give you a taste, but we're going to save that for an even bigger story.
Yeah.
I think so, but maybe. I hope.
We'll see.
I hope.
We'll see come down in the future if they do that. Marvel does have a good reputation if there is something bad in a movie before one of their future movies, they can easily correct it. Shang-Chi is the best example. I'm going to give it all the time for the gold standard of doing stuff like that.
Well, I think this director, when we talk about Gene here, I think this director is very clear in this movie about setup for this trilogy. I think we're getting 2 more of these. I know they haven't announced it officially and all that bullcrap, but I think it's a pretty obvious we're getting 3 more, right?
Yep.
And I think that the idea is he's setting a world up right now, a new, brand new day, a brand new world up of Spider-Man. And part of it's going to be the hand. Scorpion will be back again. I guarantee it. You know what I mean? We're going to have Ned's going to be the Hobgoblin. There's going to be things that's going to happen that's going to come later. And I think that this movie sets this up to be an arc of all of that. I actually, we'll get into more of that in a different talk, because let's get on to Gene real quick.
Okay.
And I'm going to let you get your feelings out, because I'm going to pitch you a little bit and see what we can do, because I'm going to tell you, I don't know if we fall on the same side of the table on this one.
And I am very shocked to hear that statement. So
I know.
okay.
I know.
All right.
So am I. And I'm saying it.
So, yes, Jean Grey is in this movie. No, she is not a multiversal Jean Grey. She is 616 Jean Grey. How do I begin? I've said this before on the podcast. I don't mind if Jean Grey herself is in the movie. What I do mind is how they portray her, what the story beat is for her, where she come from, how are they introducing mutants into this world. My biggest trepidation with this movie is throwing a character like Jean Grey in this is adding a whole new can of worms to a story that could take away from Peter. And I will say they did not take the story away from Peter, so they were true to that part of it. However, they've changed Jean's origin. They've changed mutant origins as we know it so far in the MCU. Because they don't exist in the MCU, and now they do exist, and there's...
Yeah.
Because, well, we're not going to say she's a mutate. She's a girl that has telepathic powers. They gave her sister powers, which I did look them up online when I got done thinking, does her sister ever get powers? Because I don't ever remember them. Like, she doesn't. Normally, she doesn't. There was an idea that she would, but it never happened because it's Jean Grey. She's the one that's in charge. A lot of Jean Grey's story is that either she killed her best friend when she was, or not she killed her best friend, I'm sorry. Her best friend died of an accident, she felt her life force type thing, or she was an only child for some of the different stories are out there too. So I don't like that they gave her a sister that is just as at the moment at least, she was just as powerful as her.
It could have been, right? Yeah.
I do appreciate that by the end of the movie, she showed that she does more than mind hop. Because I will be honest, I hated that for her. I hated that it felt like they watered her down to a character that's like a villain that mind hops. I don't like that they made her the villain at all. And I see that she is not the intentional villain, so I'll give them that. Yeah. But when she was bad, there were things that she was doing that no normal Jean Grey would do. This is not Phoenix-possessed Jean. Phoenix-possessed Jean would have done that stuff. And unless they decide we're not doing the outer space Phoenix Jean, and she has the Phoenix inside her, which I'm all for. I like that better than the space Phoenix, but we know they're going to do the space Phoenix. It's the MCU. That's what people's biggest gripe is about. I'm trying to maintain some level of composure while also formulating everything correctly, guys. This is not...
You know, I get how you feel because I should feel the same way you do.
Jean Grey is supposed to be this character of the nice girl next door, the one you want to take home to meet your mom and dad because you're intending on marrying her, the hot it girl from school that's friends with everyone else because she's too freaking nice. That is who Jean Grey is. She's the one that has a sympathetic hand, but a strong hand too. She's the one who's confident a little bit about, she is more confident about herself until the Phoenix Force or the Phoenix comes into play, and then she becomes that misunderstood girl. They start this off with her being a misunderstood girl. I don't like that. It makes me very nervous on how they're going to be portraying her from this point onward, because this is their entrance of one of the most powerful mutants ever in Marvel Comics. So powerful that she could kill Apocalypse. Like, this is how insanely level power she is. And I don't mind if she was a multiversal one, that she's just here and she's acting in a bad way because she's just trying to get home and people are trying to take her. But it's not that. This movie has nothing to do with multiverse stuff. It leads to so many more questions on who else is out there. How are they going to be doing them? Is this MCU version of the X-Men radically different than what we know of, not just of Fox X-Men, but of the comic X-Men? Is this their time to say, we are redoing the X-Men and we're doing it through the MCU? Because I can see them doing that. They started that with Kamala Khan, thinking, oh, we're going to use the MCU as a way to make her become a mutant as opposed to being the Inhuman she always was. Whether her original intent was that or not, doesn't matter. She was best as an Inhuman. And I feel like they're deciding we're going to take these X-Men characters and we're going to morph them into our version of what we want them to be. And it's going to be something new for us to take. Your casual X-Men fans are not going to like that. I hope this is a one-off. I hope this is we're trying this. We're taking a big swing and let's see if it works. And oh shit. That's what I really feel that they're doing with Jean Grey here. And I'm very nervous. I'm very nervous about what they're going to do to Emma Frost, what they're going to do to Xavier, what they're going to do to Cyclops.
So can I ease your mind maybe?
Go right ahead.
I'm going to try. First thing I'm going to say is you're not wrong. What they are doing is they're changing her origin, for sure, which I'm fine with. They've done this in the MCU anyways with other characters. I'm okay with them messing with it in order to make it work. I actually, after thinking about it, it's more clear to me how they're going to do the X-Men than it was before we started.
Okay.
Please so let me enlighten you, okay? Or let me see if I can help you with it.
Okay.
What this is going to take, though, is the truth is you're right. The things that you wanted or expect or think should be there, they're not going to give you. So you're either going to be okay with the swing and go for the ride, or it's just no way are you going to ever budge on them changing her thing. But if you hear me out, at least, maybe you'll see why they're doing it this way.
Okay.
First of all, I think starting out with Jean like this as being the prevalent X-Men character. I know they've kind of mentioned the mutant stuff here and there, and we saw Beast, but there is a post-credits thing. But I think Jean being the first time is an obvious X-Men character in a movie. I think that she's going to be a very big main staple going forward. Okay. Which I think
she should be, honestly.
She should be, and we would have guessed that, right?
Yep.
Because they're going to build to a Phoenix, right, eventually. If they didn't, why wouldn't they? Anyways. So, first, I want to touch on the mind-slipping thing. I think it's a good thing. I think it's to show the progression and development of her powers and how she gets her powers and hones them in. In fact, I kind of like that it's like the earlier years of her life is all I know how to do is this. And it's kind of, as she gets older and as her powers get stronger or as she learns them, it goes into bigger things. I think you even said at first you didn't like the mind thing, but now you see it was like a stepping stone to get to the next thing, right? And I think that that's what they're doing because the jumping from mind to mind went from that to then a bubble at the end of people to eventually it's going to be more people like Xavier again. I think it's all about her being young and her still going through trauma, right? Because, I think this is where I think they're getting the X-Men stuff right in this, to believe it or not. Cannot believe I'm saying this, guys. Because a week ago, I'd have been like, don't effing do that. And now I've seen it, and I'm like, oh, I see what you're doing. And it actually is really good. Anyways. So she ends it way basically it's the mind jumping thing is like the stepping stone to the next thing, which is like the bubble of people that she can do it to. Pretty soon she's gonna be able to do it like Xavier, right? In a way. She's giving her the new develop being able to move things. Then they gave her the new thing, developing her being able to move things with her mind after she has a huge traumatic realization that her sister is dead. Because it wasn't until she realized her sister was dead that this started happening. And that sticks with mutant continuity. If there's anything that we know when it comes down to anything in X-Men or mutant-wise, when does that gene come forward the most is when you're in either puberty or through traumatic events it's forced out, right? So that actually, they stayed right to that in a way. This being able to do the extra stuff and move things all come when she looked up, which I got to say is a great twist of seeing the VTech thing and realize, oh, that's nothing. And it's just what her sister saw last. And she realizes that. That's traumatic, man. And everything just was like, it opened that up, right? So that makes sense, really, if you think about it. And she realized her sister's dead, and then she saw and had no meaning to a great or whatever. And also brings into question it kind of brings into question what the bad guy was really afraid of her finding. Because remember, he's kind of like, we can't let her get something. And it's like, she was looking for VTech, which is like an air conditioning unit. Like, what was he afraid that she was actually looking for? You know what I mean? I think it's the sister stuff, but that's regardless. Anyways, but this idea in this of the government being, or when I say the government, I'm talking damage control, being a group of people that go bad and start doing things to mutants, opens up that door of that discussion that X-Men always has, is how people are going to relate with them and what they're going to try to do to them. And he's doing no different than what Stryker was trying to do with people.
I agree.
So that opens this door up there. And it also opens up the door that, since it's such a secret that this guy has done this, she might not be the only one this has been done to, her sister or her. This is probably multiple things they've worked on, which is probably the stuff he doesn't want out, which is probably what he thought she was coming for, not realizing she was just there to find out about the sister. And in the disguise of the damage control becoming corrupt, it fits the standards of the MCU, where the corrupt agencies always happen. I mean, S.H.I.E.L.D. went corrupt. Everything in the MCU goes corrupt at some point in time when it comes down to the government. And it's always been the argument in the MCU, and it fits for the X-Men stuff. But to get even more deep into it, is I will admit that some of the sinister feeling stuff she did in this was pretty shocking. Like the whole pretending to be MJ, the people that she actually hurt, the dropping the bad guy across the room, you know, like, or dragging him across the room was a very much Phoenix thing of like, lift him off the ground and dragging him to her. Yeah, I get it. Those are the times I was like, oh man, this is stuff. Why are we doing this now? You know what I mean? Like, and it kind of, you know, it's definitely tough because it is definitely hard stuff to see. But the big thing in the room here that we need to talk about is doing Jean this way in a world where the influence of a Magneto or a Professor X isn't here yet. You know, I will tell you, you said something earlier where now the mutants are here. Just because she's here doesn't mean they're all here. I don't think the absence of mutants means there's none, and I don't think that there's a couple means there's all of them. I just think that they're going to choose the way to bring the mutants in and to relate them to this world that we are going to make whole again is going to be the 616 is ours. Right? Or no, not 616. What are we? What's the main Earth?
It's 616.
It is 616?
Yeah.
I thought it was a bunch of different ones, but I didn't know. Anyways, but I think she is going to be that conduit, okay? She's going to be the mutant that started here, basically. Get back. Sorry, guys, I wrote this down. I don't want to. But in a world where there's no Magneto, no Professor X, giving us a glimpse into the struggle and anger and fear she has right off the bat, and using Peter, or essentially also using Aunt May, to be the thing that points her morally in the right direction, is actually a smart idea. Because so future-wise, when Rogue does come, or in any mutant that does come going through this, she can relate and be a key role in helping Professor Xavier help others and be a part of the school and potentially an X-Men, of other people becoming an X-Men, because she's definitely going to become one. So Professor X and his ideals are familiar to her, and she accepts them and goes along with them, and she accepts them because they're good and becomes a model good. She becomes a good model. She becomes someone to look up to, because Professor X proves what Peter tells her at the end. Peter tells her that there's going to be hope. There's going to be all this stuff, that you're not alone. And when she does meet Professor X, who's going to come from a different universe, he's going to say a lot of the same stuff, and she's going to be like, holy cow, this is right. And her heel turn from being this kid that's afraid with all this kind of crap going on is going to be this Jean that you want. It's going to be that school Jean that's real nice and real kind and doing her whole thing, because she's going to be moving on from this. I think the point is I see that when she does meet Xavier after what's happened in this movie, I think through Peter, how do I put this in words that I didn't mix up here? It's sticking to the fundamental theme in X-Men that we all stumble and deserve a second chance, and that you're not alone in this. That's repeated in X-Men lore all the time. The movies and the comics, they repeat this, that there's hope and that you're not alone. It's like Wolverine in X-Men 1 with Rogue tells her, look, this makes you feel not alone. This Xavier guy's a pretty good guy. It's like when they find Quicksilver in Days of Future Past, what do they say? You're not alone, right? And Quicksilver's like, oh, wow, he does a whole joke where it's gross and all that. It's like the relationship between Eric and Charles starts of how he basically shows Eric that he's not alone here, that you don't have to do this alone. And even in Apocalypse, he literally tells Apocalypse in the dream world that he's not alone. And then Jean presents herself as the Phoenix and destroys Apocalypse, and all is revealed and all that bullcrap, which is awesome. But, in turn, either way, they do, no matter how they do the Phoenix in the future, the fact that we get to see her as this troubled kid and get to see her trying to do better, or we get to see her, we get to see her as this troubled kid who goes through this trauma, sees her sister die, and almost kills this guy. She's not the villain of this movie. And you pointed out, and you understand that. But it's even more than that, because they would have failed this if she was the villain, if she was trying to do something that was going to hurt a lot of people and that was going to destroy the world or something. But this was literally her just getting to this guy and getting to this answer. And people in the meantime were in the middle of it in collateral damage, which makes sense to someone who's a kid that isn't directed by someone like Professor Xavier. And why this works future-wise for the Phoenix, because now in either direction you go with the Phoenix later, if we see her go from this troubled kid and doing these things, Peter pointing her in the right direction, because they're in the same boat about being alone and about who they are, points her in the right direction. She goes off on her own, finds Professor Xavier after all the doomsday crap happens, sees that that's a safe place, and Peter was right. I stay. She gets modeled into the gene that we know. And then we see this progression all this time of all this coming from this to there. When say they decide the Phoenix is inside of her and it's a multiple personality thing, that multiple personality is going to use that darkness and that fear and that trauma from before, and we're going to see it come back amplified. Let's say the Phoenix, they do it from space, which is probably most likely, to be honest. Then that thing's going to come into her and it's going to use that same fear and same trauma from before to amplify her and what she does. So either way, you're going to get the same outcome.
Mm-hmm.
We're just getting it, like you said, the thing we're worried about the most in the beginning. It's like it works because there was no world-ending, life-shattering thing that was her goal. It wasn't talking her out of destroying the world like a legit villain would be. It was showing her another path, like Xavier always does. It was giving her that big X-Men theme, hope, right? And it serves Peter's story by letting Aunt May's words and speak to her while she was in Peter's mind the way they did. You know what I'm saying? And it also helped Peter because Peter went from needing Aunt May and needing those words to now understanding that Andrew Garfield's version of Spider-Man was right, that you're going to go through a dark time, which is this whole movie, and you don't do it alone, because I did, and it's awful. And here, what's Peter trying to do this entire time? Trying to do it alone, right? And it's awful. It's awful for him. What does he do? I don't think it's a coincidence that Aunt May's sitting there. She goes in the mine. She's sitting there. Aunt May's there, and they're having this conversation. I think that was a very big point that Peter comes over. He sits down next to her, right where Aunt May was sitting, and says the same things to her and becomes that for her at that moment. And I think that's a changing thing in her life. And then on top of it, him putting up his life on the line for her. Because look what she does, the most Jean Grey thing after he gets shot that Jean Grey would do. Like, Jean Grey wouldn't let someone die if she could help it, right? She does a complete opposite thing of what she was doing 10 minutes before the scene, right there in that moment. When you realize that he was shot and she was keeping him alive the whole time so he could heal enough to get better, is mind-blowing, actually. It shows how far her powers went in that traumatic involvement with this guy and finding out that her sister was actually killed the way she was. And it also shows you that's the kind of Jean Grey you're going to get. A very compassionate, loving, caring, understanding Jean Grey. But she had to come from trauma. And they showed us this trauma in this movie by serving Peter's story, where Peter became her Uncle Ben in a way. Uncle May or Aunt May or Uncle Ben, by sitting there and saying, "You're not alone, I'm here," which is all the things he needs to hear her say. But he does that for her. He legitimately becomes a man in that moment of, I am that now. I'm not. That was that thing I was talking about earlier, where how are we ever going to believe that Peter becomes one of the OGs as a good adult man? Right there, it happened. And it's like, oh, I believe this. Yeah, he is someone that did something very responsible and big, a big step that he needed to do. And he did it with the courage from Aunt May. He became Aunt May to her, which is going to lead her to someone like Professor X, which is going to lead her into becoming Jean, or he's going to lead her into becoming Jean that we know of. So then when she does the heel turn later, it's even more heartbreaking because we know where it came from. And we know where it kind of started. We saw it from the very beginning. Because the one thing that we don't see in Jean's thing is there is, yes, with all, the comics do it. I'm talking movie-wise. We don't really ever see other than like a flashbacks or clips of what happened to her that was traumatic that made her powers come out. This time they just dove deep into it and they decided to give it the edge that you and I were worried about. And you know what? At first I was like, really? But as it went, and as we got to the end and we got that moment with her and we got those moments with her and seeing how it related to Peter and where it went, I realized what they were doing. And I was like, this is actually it's almost brilliant, because it's hard to bring the X-Men into this world with it being relative. But this is going to make it relative, because some of these X-Men are definitely going to come from multiverses. We know it. They definitely are, because clearly not all the mutants are here, or everybody would know. But I think there's going to be a handful that are from here, and she happens to be one of them. And she happens to be one of them that's going to be the start, like, of the X-Men on a big portion of it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that arc is there, and I see it, and I'm on board. I'm on board. I'm on board enough to give it the chance, because I think this is the only time you're going to see her this way. I think when we're moving forward, you're going to see her progressively become that confident young woman that gets a little older and grows up quick. Because Xavier's going to say all the right things to her that she just heard from Peter, and Peter put it in her mind, which came from Aunt May. You know what I mean? Which is actually almost brilliant. It's real brilliant and they're in the perfect position for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's in that position to point her in the right direction. Because if it was Magneto, he'd have her, and she'd be a bad guy. There had to be a point in time where who she decided she was going to be needed to point her in that direction. And Peter did it. And the direction it's pointed in is Professor X, once he shows up. Because he's going to say all these things, and she's going to say, wow, there are people out there like that. Professor X isn't just saying things, because guess who pointed me in the right way? A guy just like you, who's telling me I'm not alone and that there's a different way. And then she kept him alive. I see it. I know it's hard to swallow, but it is a thing. I think it is something you need to either, I'm at peace with this or I'm not. And I'm going to eat my words. I think it's very smart. I think it's brilliant. I don't think they did a disservice to her character whatsoever. If anything, it kind of improved upon what it can be later. I know Rogue has a similar story, and that's like, oh, why do two of them? But how else would you get someone like Rogue that's gone through a bunch of shit and back and forth, good guy, bad guy, sit down and say, hey, I used to be you? Because what's Peter tell her? I used to be you. It's like, it almost is like a mirror image of what the X-Men stand for. Peter literally gave her what? The thing that Xavier always tells them. What Xavier say to Xavier in Days of Future Past? What do I need you to get back? Hope. Peter literally gave her hope, which is what she's going to find in Professor X. And I just think I'm like, yep, I see it. I see it. I see it. Because she didn't do anything that made you think, oh, that's unredeemable. 100%. You even like, I think you would agree that when you get to the end, you realize, oh, this poor girl been through some shit. If she wasn't Jean Grey, if she was anybody else, we'd be like, man, that girl's been through shit. No wonder she's doing what she's doing. It's the same thing. She wasn't out to destroy the world. She wasn't out to really hurt people. In fact, she threw that thing back to Peter. She toyed with him and stuff, but she's an angry little girl that wants to get what she wants. She wants answers about her sister, whom she still thinks is alive. And now she finds out she's not. I think we're lucky he was able to talk her out of it. But he was. And it's because he was in a position to do so. And that he wouldn't have been able to do that if he wasn't the Peter that stepped up, as that was his final step up. It wasn't about his love life. It wasn't about who he should be. It was about being that for somebody else. And that's huge, I think, for Peter, for her, for the future stuff with her, with Professor X. I think that's huge. I really do think it's way bigger than we are remembering it now. I think we're gonna watch that. We're gonna see those scenes again and be like, oh yeah, that is huge. And I hope maybe you watch it with those glasses on through this lens and see what you think. I think that'll help you. Me throwing that out there to you, that perspective of it, maybe when we watch it the second time, you'll be like, oh, I see where you're coming from. And it might make you feel better and get on board with it. Because and it's made me go, if you can do this with Gene, and if it is true, I mean, worst case is I get proved wrong and it sucks later, right? I think that's the only way we're going to know is until we see what happens later. But I think this guy's setting things up. I think that's why they got him doing it. I think he's good at it. I think this guy knows what he's doing. I think the Russos coached him into it. I think they said, this is a good way to do it because this is how we want to do it. This is what you can do because you had a good idea. Go ahead and do your idea because it's going to fit with ours and it's going to work. And I think this guy knows how to set future things up. And that's what he did here. I really do think that's what he did here. But that's all I got. I don't know. I mean, I know I wrote it all down in a hurry today. It's a little messy. I didn't explain it well, but like I said, I want to see this movie again. I want to make sure I'm right. But from all the references I'm looking at in it, I do see like this is us getting a peek at what she is capable of as an angry young girl. I can see what the Phoenix taps into later. And it's almost kind of a foreshadowing tragedy that's going to happen. And I kind of like that. I kind of like it. And truthfully, this was an arc for Peter that needed to be there because not only did he accept being Spider-Man and accept this mutation, but he become this for her, which is big. He became the MA for her, which is something he always felt like he needed more of, there's the grief for her, and this is all over the place. Feel a little better?
I agree with a lot of your points. I see a little more of where you're coming from. And if they follow this up with how you are hoping they do, which is you're the one who's going to be hanging on to hope for this thing because I am still, I hear you. I'm not saying I disagree with you.
There, though?
I see all the themes. Yeah. Yes, I'm glad you're able to lay them out. And I hope that our audience, if you were anything like me and you listen to that, I hope you were able to take away some of that and be like, okay, I see this point of view. I see this. If this is their intention, then I will say this is genius level writing.
I think it is.
The only way this works is if it's followed through.
I agree. So far, it's genius to me.
Jake Schreier has to be able to commit to that for his X-Men movie, to be able to reference that. And this will have to be rippled down the line more than just one movie.
I agree.
For some of this to start clicking, especially when you get to the more personal movies of Jean. If they do like a Dark Phoenix to Apocalypse, what happened, then it's all to shit. That's the nicest way to say it. But
yeah, I think you're
contingent upon what you have theorized.
So I think what I'm trying to say is the building blocks are there. And because they're there, I can see this as potentially brilliant.
Marvel, you better hire my brother to write some of your Jean Grey stuff.
Doesn't it sound good?
It's the only way that was going to make this movie.
When we watch Multiverse of Madness and Xavier says that line, everybody stumbles and they all deserve a second chance. This is the first thing that came in my head when I started thinking about what happened to her in this. And to me, is like they know these characters, and that's going to be a theme, which is the thing that we're worried about they're going to lose with the X-Men. And this made me think that they're not going to. I think Feige, I think he's got this. I think he knows what he's doing with the X-Men.
Okay.
I think he sat back and said, we're going to keep that alive. Like, if you're going to do Jean, it's got to be like this. Yeah, I think they let him take a big swing on how they did it, because there was a big swing.
Yes.
Giving her a different, with a sister and all that, there's a lot of big stuff.
Yep.
But once, I tell you what, it was the VTech thing that did it to me. I was not in it. I was feeling the exact same way you were, until she saw that thing on the thing and then realized her sister was dead. And then her powers came. And then I realized, oh, they're creating Jean right now. We're at the very beginning of Jean. It's not going to be, here's Jean, she's this, we're going to hear about her past.
Okay.
We're seeing the very beginning.
We're seeing her past.
Yeah.
I could get on board with that.
And it's just unique that Peter ends up being the one
Mm-hmm.
that is that conduit to the, because what is it? It's hope. It's we're not alone. It's all Xavier shit. It's so good. Like, it's like almost perfect. Yeah, it's a big ask, but
this is one of the biggest, if this is all true, if what you laid out is exactly why they planned it and did this movie the exact same way, one, it will be solidified in a future film because they have to solidify it. Right now, it's just the clay they've molded. They have to make it harden.
It's got a payoff.
Yes, this has to have a payoff.
Which might take a while.
If this happens, if that does it, this...
Yeah. You're thinking what I'm thinking.
If that happens, exactly, and they reference it because of this movie is an easy 10 out of 10.
Oh,
this movie is probably a 20 out of 10.
Yeah.
This is, and I'm not saying this to start cowtailing to any other belief or anything like that or every perspective. If what you laid out is to a T what we love about the X-Men, we talk about them all the time. I am seeing it through the eyes of, this is Jean Grey in a Spider-Man movie. I am not seeing this, and until now, when how you've explained it this way, as this is a Jean Grey origin, it still brings questions on mutants in the MCU, which they have not addressed, and she is a mutant.
But our question doesn't necessarily mean it's all effed, right? It just means we don't know yet.
That's true.
Yeah.
They have time to explain that, and that might be their first X-Men movie, is explaining these are mutants, and these are the ones that we've identified, and these are your team now.
Yeah. I think Doomsday is going to have, or the two movies coming are going to have a lot to do with this.
And in doing it like this, I feel like they may be reshaping the X-Men, but it might not be in a bad way.
I think the reshaping is going to be how they become the X-Men, but I think you're going to eventually get exactly who we should have.
Well,
does that make sense?
Well, that's what comes to my brain when it comes to the casting of Emma Frost is the first thing they decide to announce. Like, the X-Men team we're going to get is not going to be what everyone has been thinking they are.
I agree.
I think, yes, we are obviously getting Jean. We now obviously are getting Emma. If we're getting the good Emma.
I think we're getting Cyclops.
Yeah, there's going to be some core members like Storm that obvious. They're synonymous with the X-Men. It's like you can't have them without them being at least referenced, if not part of it.
I actually think Storm was going to come later.
I
think they're going to do her justice, that she's going to come in as someone that's a little older, the way she should be.
I hope so. I hope they do that through the Black Panther movie.
So do
it's showing that. Yes, I agree.
I think that's exactly what's going to happen. But anyways, that's speculation. Yeah.
This is one of the biggest swings I would say the Marvel has ever done.
There's even another level of genius to it too.
There is,
and that second level of genius is it's still a Peter Parker movie. With a Jean origin.
I wish someone like one of the writers or Destin himself we able to pitch this to him and be like, is this what you came up with? Even if it's privately without the mics and cameras. If he said
once, if we're onto something, and just be like, ting,
if he says, oh my gosh, this Isaiah guy cracked the code of what we came up with. If he says something like that, or we had something like that, it's revealed that this is their intention the whole time, then I will say my little rant before this, which is valid, I'm going to say is still valid.
100%.
I will stand by all the words that I said because I'm looking at this as these are my X-Men that you are trying to bring into this universe that I love dearly.
It's scary. I get it. But you know what?
This would be genius
if that conversation was with the Russos and him and Feige. All of them sat down and said, look, you need to do a Jean Grey origin story, but it's got to be a Spider-Man movie. So not only did it be a Jean Grey origin, it served the Spider-Man story.
Spider-Man
so it
becoming
never
the man.
felt like it
Yeah.
wasn't Spider-Man's movie. But yes, she still had an origin in it.
If that's
It's
really
freaking brilliant.
If this was their intention,
Yeah.
I am.
While keeping the same values that the X-Men have.
Yes, if this was their intention. I only keep saying if because my brother can come up with some really great reasons for some things of the movies, and then sometimes where we are let down. Like, we've come up with some really good story ideas, and we're like, oh, what the heck did they do?
This is true.
So
I'm just going on a whim.
Yes,
I'm just going on what it made me feel.
If you're
to be honest, so
if you overthinking this in a good way and deep diving into this came up with this exact same mentality that they had writing this and producing this, then that is genius. That is really
it's all over this movie, right?
Yeah.
The idea that Hulk recognizes him, all these little nuanced things that's in the perfection of the writing makes me think that, boy, these guys are this good, and the Russos are good enough to come up with these kind of stories. Look at how good it is from, you think about storyline, think of Captain America Winter Soldier to the end of Endgame. It's straight up brilliant.
Yep.
This level with those guys.
Yep.
So to me, it's like, yeah, I think they're seeing big picture. And this movie just happened to be good in that sense too.
Well, I think this is something that not only myself, but our audience will have to sit back and chew on and maybe see it from this perspective. If this is their intention, then this is mind-blowing.
So what I want to do, though, is when we go see it the second time,
look at it through that
look
lens.
it through that lens and see if I'm full of shit or not. because I might be. I might come back on, guys, after we see it again and be like, sorry about that. I watched it again and I missed a few things.
And I might come back on and say, my eyes have been opened. Like
all is revealed.
All is revealed.
How meta
like,
is that?
like glass. I'm wearing glasses for the first time kind of thing. Like, oh my.
If you say all is revealed, it's so meta because of Apocalypse. Oh my God, that'd be so funny.
I love that movie so much.
Let's touch on real quick the post-credit scene because this has gone on way longer.
I was just going to say, let's do that and then we'll go right from there into our retrospective because all right, post-credit scene of the Spidey tracker losing track of Spider-Man, then all of a sudden it finds him outside of the world.
Yeah, in space somewhere.
In space.
Yeah, just not on Earth or whatever.
So I'm going to tell you the only thing that comes in my brain for this, that to me I'm like, okay, this is a clear reference. He's going to be in Secret Wars. To me, this is our Earth has died as we know it. Our universe has collapsed, but it's just a friendly nod using that fun technology there to say, oh, he's on Battleworld. We're going to see him in Secret Wars.
Yep.
I think that's the only nod that's going to be.
Yep.
It doesn't, at the end it says Spider-Man will return. It doesn't clarify in Secret Wars and Doomsday and Spider-Man 5.
Right.
It just says he will return, which we kind of know he's going to return. Which also, them being confident enough to put that in there tells me they've planned out a trilogy for this guy.
Yeah, me too.
Their contract has said, oh, it's far beyond Brand New Day. It's more stuff. Anyways, what are your theories?
Yeah, so the one it's the long shot one. At first I thought this, but then I thought more of what you just said. But at first I was kind of like, oh, this is kind of cool. The app is I thought maybe the app was confused and it detects Peter Parker in space or Spider-Man in space, which might be their fun way of telling us an incursion is coming, and it's actually detecting a different Spider-Man. Because I think we all have these rumors that there's another Spider-Man coming in.
Okay.
So I think that it can be taken that way. Although it does say that he kind of goes missing. So I lean more towards exactly what you said. I would say that it shows that suddenly Peter is taken from Earth by Doctor Strange and put somewhere else that could be multiversal meaning. And this would make the theory of Doctor Strange doing that would be awesome if that's the case. But it also kind of points to if you really think about it, this movie was supposed to come out between Doomsday and Infinity War at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And when it says Peter Parker will return, they took out the whole Peter Parker will return in Avengers Infinity War because they want you to not know when he's coming because they want to keep it secret about what happens in Doomsday and on.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like they know that we know Infinity or Secret Wars is coming, but they want you to think that there's a possibility that Peter Parker still shows up in Doomsday. I don't think he's going to show up in Doomsday at all. If not, maybe at the very end.
Yeah.
I think this
agree.
this post-credit scene shows him being taken out by Sling Ring like that, because it does happen fast, and put somewhere else because shit's about to go down, and shit starts to go down, and the Doomsday stuff happens, and then Peter, along with, if you notice, there's another character in the MCU that they say this person will return without saying the name of the movie, and that's Peter Quill. And I think he might be part of that same crew of people that are put aside that do come and help bring people back, which I think would be a great mix.
And
then meeting again,
yeah.
and then giving Peter Quill the chance to be part of the crew that saves everybody, because he wasn't part of that in Endgame. He was one of the ones that dusted. We're doing this whole, the old OGs are kind of going to help the new G's kind of thing.
Yep.
So I think that's a theme that's happening. I think that's what this post.
And I think that gives more validity to your theory of Doctor Strange seeing more than just Thanos being defeated.
Yep,
he
so
sees
much.
the main future.
Yep.
Which I hope that actually does pay off for you, because that would be
right?
That would be another genius level of
it would make
writing.
all this other bullshit at least tolerable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you see why it's confusing, because okay, we didn't know this little bit of information.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's key. And there's one meta thing about this whole thing that I will say genius wise about this movie, and then we're going to close this off to get to our main event. You realize that this is why I think I'm right. Not about the Doctor Strange thing.
About the gene.
I think I'm about 60% right about Doctor Strange. I'd say it's worth putting $20 on for the Doctor Strange thing.
Yeah.
But the gene and the genius writing about this, I think, is there because there's a meta writing thing on this that they did. They're probably like, how can we tell another Spider-Man story that's unique and fun and different and do all these things that really make it awesome and show him growing up and being somebody, like becoming this, without it repeating what we've seen in the past. And a lot of people have said, we've even said in our thing, and you said it here, that this movie is closer to Spider-Man 2 with how it's the New York City is more prevalent, right? And storyline wise, the deeper emotions about like that Spider-Man 2 has with Tobey. And the posters alone are very Spider-Man 2. It was very obvious that there's a lot of influence of they want that feel, right?
Yep.
And I don't think it's a coincidence that in Spider-Man 2, Peter Parker was giving up Spider-Man to be Peter and he was losing his webbing. And in this movie, he was giving up Peter Parker to be Spider-Man and he's gaining his webbing. I think there's some genius level thought between that as well. Do you notice that?
That's interesting.
Tobey was literally the Peter Parker in Spider-Man 2. I don't want to be Spider-Man no more. I want to go be with her. And then he goes through this existential problem. And he starts losing stuff. You know what I mean? And then in this movie, it's I'm giving up Peter Parker. I'm becoming Spider-Man fully. And he starts gaining. I don't think that there's a coincidence there. I think it is. I think the powers, just like they described in this movie, I think the powers of what he can be and what that bite did to him and changed him very much fluctuates as he gets older, and his mentality and how he thinks and how his mood is, which goes to like a lot of the power sets and a lot of these characters in these movies. I think is a lot like Thor's a big one. If Thor's in a good mood and he feels confident, he's going to kick some ass. If he's sad or he's tired or he's hurt, he's not going to be powerful. I think that I think their powers complement what's going on inside a lot. Which even the Hulk kind of fits at if you think about it in this one, you know what I mean? Like in that lens. So yeah, I think there is genius level writing going on, because that to me is like, oh my God, it's like the opposite of that movie. You know what I mean? It's like so wild.
So since we watched this movie for the first time, I haven't watched any of the other people's, the other YouTubers' spoiler reviews and all that stuff, because I didn't
until after we
yes, I didn't want it to influence my initial thoughts of this movie. I told myself after we go through these initial thoughts with you guys, then I would start watching some different things. If anyone says the same thing that you do, I need to check my IQ and make sure I need to eat some more almonds or something to get my brain as to the capacity that you guys got, because I thought I was good.
I feel like you're going to hear, you know what I think? I think you're going to hear a lot of people say they like it, but I don't know if they're going to go as deep as I just did. I don't think they're going to say it like that. I think they're just going to say it's cool.
Because I'll be honest, some of these YouTubers that kind of tick me off a little bit. They're very nonchalant about introducing Jean Grey.
Yep, they are.
And
It's a big deal.
I don't think that they're thinking of it in your level, like this is what they're gonna do. So I'm gonna say you guys are idiots if you don't want Jean Grey in there. I think they're doing it from an arrogant point of view, but how do
I
I say
agree.
this? Yes,
I'm gonna like this, I think, for different reasons than most of them on the internet are gonna like this.
they're gonna like
They're gonna
it
like it
because
because they don't
Jean
think
is
it's a
there.
big deal.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just like, do whatever you wanna do, we're in.
But you're gonna like it because you see a deeper meaning
Because
to
I
it.
see it actually being more true to what we think it is.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of like in the midst of this, they're kind of in the middle. I'm on the other end of I see, in my view, a deeper meaning of the X-Men and mutants, and I don't like it. You see on the other end of the spectrum there a deeper meaning of how they're portraying the mutant issue and potentially setting up a future for this particular character, and you're loving it even more than what the people on the YouTube would say, oh, we like it because it's non-consequential to them. For us, this is consequential, which is where I am on the other side at the moment. I hear your stuff, but I'm just reiterating what I said earlier. I'm on the other side of I worry how they're gonna do this. And was this swing the best swing? And then you're on the opposite side of that saying, oh, they did the swing and I think they hit it really well.
If it's what it is, it's there.
Yes.
I want you, when you lay your head down tonight to go to bed, I want one of the thoughts that goes through your, not necessarily the exact dialogue, but I want you to think of two specific scenes from an
Okay.
X-Men movie and from this movie. I
Okay.
want you to lay on your pillow, and I want you to think about the scene of Xavier projecting himself standing in front of Mystique while she's trying to kill the president in Days of Future Past. And he gives her the speech of a different path.
Yep.
And I want you to think of the scene of Peter sitting next to her telling her the same thing while she's about to kill that guy with the glass. And tell me that's not the same damn thing.
See, that's why we need to do a second watching the movie so I can be able to see it through that lens
It's
too.
the first thing when I was watching that movie, it's the first thing that came to my head. Which made me go, this is genius. Isn't that wild? Anyways, I want you to watch it through that perspective because you do need to see it a second time. You do. I do too. I might be wrong, but this the first when they did that, I'm like, oh, this is that same scene.
Oh,
The climax of this movie was talking her down into a different way. What's the climax of that movie? The same thing. The themes are there. If they accidentally did it, then
wow.
there's no way they accidentally did it. No way. I can't imagine they accidentally did this. They just took a different way of getting there, which is tough to swallow. But once you do, you're almost like, it's kind of perfect.
Someone from Marvel, please comment or come onto our show.
If I don't wake up tomorrow,
webinar.
I promise you I didn't want to hurt myself.
It's just Kevin Feige.
Yeah, this is just Disney with the mouse with his little blow dart coming after me.
Well, with that said, guys, what are your out of the theater scores for Spider-Man Brand New Day? Do you like Ike's theory of why this all works brilliantly, or are you more on the side of me where I'm a little more trepidatious with what they're going to do with the mutants moving on?
At the very least, we both agree it's a great movie anyway.
We agree.
Yeah.
Yes, I completely agree. I feel like, and I'm telling you this right now, if what happens with Ike is true, especially in a couple rewatches of this, and I'm starting to see the light a little bit more because I've been in a little bit of Peter Parker darkness for a little bit. This out of the theater score, I know is subject to change because his initial gut reaction of, okay, this is how I felt and this is how I was feeling during the movie. But that's why retrospectives, we watch them 2 or 3 times to see, do we really feel this way or are we seeing it in a different way? If this is true, the fact that you call all this in your first time watching it, kudos to you. Because sometimes I need to watch a Marvel movie 2 or 3 times just to absorb what the heck is going on sometimes.
Yeah, I'm odd. It's no, see, well, a lot of it, I just watched a lot of movies, man. Like, I just retain a lot of that stuff. I can go on 3 hours about how Jaws is misunderstood. Even though people still say it's an amazing movie, I think they're still missing something even more brilliant about it. But that's just my problem. No, well, we've been gearing up. I'll be honest with you, my watching these movies, my game on that has gotten stronger since we've been doing this. Because I'm now looking for I'm like, I'm in. And this, I don't know if we're both in the same level, but it really hinges, for me personally, how good these movies are and the direction they decide to go. It really hinges on my thoughts on how much I'm excited for the future of this. This movie, I was really worried about this movie. So I think I went in with my antennas, like, really looking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because of that, coming out of it, I'm like, okay, I see this and I see that. Plus, I took notes while I watched the movie. It was just quick stuff.
I was
It was
gonna,
just things that made me say, I gotta think about that later.
I was gonna start doing that. I wrote down one thing, his deeper voice, and then I stopped writing notes because I didn't want to be too distracted writing notes and watching the movie. And I'm like, all right, I'll just watch the movie.
There's a
and
point,
see.
yeah, there's a point towards the middle where I kind of stopped because it just washed over me that, man, I'm just having a good time.
Yep.
But as things were happening, my brain was quickly going, and
Yep.
especially the Jean Grey stuff, because that's where we're worried.
Yep.
And I was waiting for that moment of me going, son of a bitch. You know what I mean? Like, I was waiting to turn to you and roll my eyes, and we just realized we got to sit through 20 minutes of bullshit. And it just
didn't
happen for me.
Yep.
In fact, like I said, that scene come into my head when that happened, and I'm just like, oh, whoa, what's going on here? And that's why I needed, like, to think about it the next day, because my initial coming out, I'm with you. This is weird. But after thinking about it, oh no, actually, it's kind of genius.
All right, guys. Well, like I said, let us know in the comments below what your thoughts are. And I guess from this Branchpoint breakdown, we're going to segue over into our main event, which this feels like the main event, but there is a main event.
Guys, we're not going to go nearly as long on the next thing. Like,
yeah, right?
Crazy as that is, this kind of was the retrospective. Wait till we go deep dive on this movie.
We're going to talk about Antman and the Wasp.
That's right.
So let's crawl our way into this.